My parents are both from Boston. They have super thick Boston accents, but I never picked any of it up because we moved when I was a little kid, you know? So the only time I ever said anything with a Boston accent was if it was a word I heard my parents say, but I never heard anybody else say. So one time my mom told me a word that meant fancy schmancy, and I never heard it anywhere else before. So I remember being in 3rd grade in like a pottery class, and this little girl asked me, like, Adam, what do you think of my little ashtray? Or what? Not an ashtray. It was like it was like a flower pot. Yeah, sure. Back then, when they started us smoking real young. She was like, Adam, what do you think of my little flower pot? And I was like, I don't know. It's kind of Artsy Fartsy, right? Because I had never heard the word Artsy Fartsy before. I only heard my mom with her Boston accent say Artsy Fartsy. So I was just like a kid with a regular New Hampshire accent, walking around like, yeah, my mom dropped me off at school, in the car, in the parking lot. We went to Starbucks on the way. She used her charge card. And I don't know, that flower pot's kind of Artsy Fartsy. And as soon as I said it, all the kids would look at me and they were like, oh my God, this kid's like wicked retarded. And I was like, no, I'm not. And I know we don't use that word anymore, by the way. Like, I'm very aware, we do not use the R word anymore. It's outdated. But when I was in 3rd grade in New Hampshire 28 years ago, like, that was a big insult. And so it hurt me. And I went home crying to my mom. And my mom's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I said Artsy Fartsy because you said Artsy Fartsy. And all the kids made fun of me. And my mom was like, aw, you are wicked retarded. And I was like, Mom! Because Boston moms are mean. My mom's a wonderful mother, but she's a mean Boston parent first, and then they're nice, right? So after my mom stopped making fun of me, she gave me a word that I could call the kids when I went back to school. That basically means snobby and stuck up, right? But it didn't have the R's in it, and I never heard it before. So I was like, oh, I got this. I was like, I'm not falling for this shit again, Mom. That's how I talked to my mom in 3rd grade. I'd have a cigarette, and I'd be like, I'm not taking that shit from you, Mom. So I went back to school the next day. The kids are immediately making fun of me, and I'm like, oh, I got a word, but I know it didn't have the R's in it, so I got this. So I was like, oh, yeah? Well, you guys are just being hoardy-torty. So I feel like I got them back pretty good.